Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster.
And Midge, I am not here to make our listeners wait for the things that they want.
Okay.
Y'all wanted taxidermy gaffs, so we're doing
Yeah.
it today.
Awesome. I was hoping we would get back to it sooner rather than later.
Yes. So if any of you missed our earlier episode, I did do an episode all about taxidermy and the history of taxidermy, and just kind of slid in at the end there that there was more to talk about for taxidermy gaffs than would fit in one episode. So I was like, if you guys want to hear it, we'll come back to it, and you want to hear it. So here we are.
I'm after you did that episode, then I got the opportunity to go to the expo.
Yes.
So then when I was there, I was looking at stuff. I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear Penny talk about this.
All right. So, for those of you who are not familiar with the term, a gaff refers to like something that is made up or a trick or not accurate. So it's been used, to refer to like sideshow or taxidermy things. And I actually learned while I was Googling this that a like deck of cards for like a magician that has like weirdness in it is actually called a gaff deck.
Yeah, I actually, I forgot that I had heard that, but now that you say that, that is familiar.
Yeah. So obviously, some taxidermy gaffs in history were made with the purpose to deceive and make someone think that this was a real thing. But some, especially modern ones, are more like art pieces. It's kind of, playing into more of that creative side of taxidermy. Obviously, at places like Oddities Expo, you see a lot more two-headed ducklings and other like mutations and things that are rarer and more expensive than they would be if they had not been purposefully created for people's entertainment.
Yeah.
But we are gonna flash back to another fabulous previous episode and
I was
start off
waiting.
with the oldest and probably most famous taxidermy gaff, the Fiji mermaid.
Yeah.
So this was displayed in P.T. Barnum's American Museum and later in his sideshow. So if you are interested in that and haven't listened to our sideshow episode, definitely check that out. So this one was claimed to be a mermaid, obviously, that was caught off the coast of Fiji. There you go.
Aptly named.
Aptly named. Unfortunately, it was not, in fact, a mermaid. It was the head and torso of a monkey sewn onto the back half of a fish with boobs. They put boobs on it, which I feel is
Yeah.
pretty weird. But there you
Yeah.
go.
That might be my line with taxidermy, where I'm like,
Don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
So unsurprisingly, the true provenance of this specific taxidermy piece is unknown. There's apparently a current theory that like Japanese sailors were like making them like as jokes basically, and potentially sold it to someone who then brought them back to America. But this one was brought to Barnum in 1842, and this reading this part of the Wikipedia article was cracking me up. Do you remember when like every nerdy movie had like an alternate reality game where you were
Oh,
like solving puzzles and you had to like look for websites and you go to the website and it gives you a code and you do all sorts of stuff?
absolutely. Yeah.
P.T. Barnum basically did that.
Again, the original influencer.
The original influencer. So he actually had a naturalist examine this taxidermy piece, and they were like, I can't tell you that this thing is real, my dude. And he was like, well, people will pay to see it anyway.
Not wrong. Not
So
wrong.
he actually leased it from the owner for $12.50 a week. And one of the ways that he decided he was going to generate publicity for this was he had someone send anonymous letters to New York newspapers saying that Dr. J. Griffin had this object that he caught in South America, and then actually had one of like his associates pose as Dr. Griffin and check into a hotel in Philadelphia and show it to like the guy who owned the hotel as thanks. And the guy was like, oh my God, you got to show this to my friends, some of whom were newspaper editors,
Oh my God.
and just what stirred up all of this desire to see this thing, and then came to New York and displayed it in a concert hall, and it was apparently so it was displayed in a concert hall for 5 days, and then P.T. Barnum convinced him, wink wink, to bring it to his American Museum instead.
The ultimate bamboozle.
Right? Like that is some hardcore bamboozling.
It really is.
Like this isn't like you can't just like email someone a press release and be like, "Hey, I got a weird thing." Like you're doing a whole thing. You're posing as people. You're going to Philadelphia.
The devil works hard, but P.T. Barnum works harder.
So true. True that. And apparently he also printed pamphlets which gave general information about mermaids and specifically his specimen. And I was like, well, okay, thanks for your mermaid marine biology segment, P.T.
I would
Barnum.
love to see that pamphlet. I really would.
Right? I'm like, what is in there? So that was the Fiji mermaid, which is very famous, and obviously a lot of people made additional replicas, and some people even claimed that their replica was the original, so it was like a fake of a fake. So a whole rabbit hole there.
Yeah, I think the actually it might be the well, it could be a replica of a replica because the guy we talked about, I can't remember his name now, but that has the like last standing kind of sideshow museum on Coney Island now. He has what he claims is the OG Fiji mermaid in his display.
Could be. My next creature that I want to share with you is the jackalope.
Yeah.
So a jackalope is a jackrabbit with antelope horns because portmanteau is fun. So there are tales from around the world about horned rabbits, but the American jackalope, as we know it, is credited to a guy called Douglas Herrick, who created it in 1932. And guess what he and his brothers did, Midge?
Tell me.
They took that mail order taxidermy class like we talked about in the taxidermy episode.
Oh, full circle. Amazing.
And yep, I guess after taking that class, they were like, we could make a thing. And so they started making these jackalope taxidermies, selling them around first their hometown of Douglas, Wyoming, and then the creature's legend grew and spread across the American West.
Ooh.
Douglas still lays claim to the jackalope. I thought this was really fun. The Douglas Chamber of Commerce issues jackalope hunting license, which is good, which you can use to hunt during official jackalope season, which happens on June 31st.
Perfect.
From midnight to 2 a.m. So obviously they sell a bunch of those, and they also have an 8-foot tall statue of a jackalope. Ooh. And they host a Jackalope Days celebration every year. I do not know if that jackalope statue has sweet cakes. Like
I was literally about to ask, like the way that I was biting my tongue, waiting for the opportunity to say, "Does it have cheeks?" Though,
does it have cheeks? I mean, it's a bunny, so it probably does. Like, I feel like they've got like a nice fluffy booty going on there.
That's true. That's true.
I have not seen that jackalope, but I did see the giant jackalope statue at Wall Drug in South Dakota.
Oh, Wall Drug.
I would say if anyone has driven out that way, you've seen a sign for Wall Drug.
Yes, you have. 25 signs to be exact.
Yes. And they do have a giant jackalope that you can sit on out in front of the store. Another fun American gaff fantasy creature is the fur-bearing trout.
Oh, I actually don't know this one.
Right. So the furry or shaggy trout comes from, I guess, just kind of general old tall tales and jokes about it being so cold up north that fish grow fur to keep warm. There is apparently also a version of the legend where they say that several bottles of hair tonic got spilled into the river and it made the trout furry. I think I have actually seen like the image of like a furry trout, but I did not know that it was like kind of one of these like classic like jokey things. there is, in addition to like this American folklore, there is furred fish in Icelandic legend. They are called the Lodsilungur.
Mm.
That is my personal pronunciation of that. But that is an inedible fish made by demons to fill up the
Oh.
rivers as punishment for human wickedness, which is pretty harsh.
Oh, R.I.P.
Right?
humans. That's
I
rough.
know. I know. I'm like, that's a little bit more intense than us being like, haha, it's cold. The fish have fur.
Right? Demon fish.
Demon fish. And apparently there is a nasty fish mold that kind of makes it look like a fish has white fur on it.
Ugh.
That kind of sucks. So I'm not into that part.
I don't know what that phobia is called, but I have that. Moldy
Yes.
fish.
But one of the things that I really also enjoyed is I discovered that jackalope, fur-bearing trout, and our old friend the hodag
Oh, yeah.
are considered to be part of the same group of like American tall tale animals by folklorists, and they are called
Oh.
fearsome critters. Isn't that delightful?
That's going to be what I call our listeners from now on.
Fearsome critters.
Forget like ghouls or whatever y'all are. You're fearsome critters now.
Shout out to all the fearsome critters.
That's hilarious. So they have almost like a genus.
Yeah, that's like their folklore genus is that they're a fearsome critter.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love the weird place where like science mixes with just absurdity.
Right. And you're like, well, we got to categorize all of these weird made up things.
Yeah, I live for that. That's awesome.
So good. Another just kind of a broad category I called animals dressed up as things. Like obviously you see a lot of taxidermy of like mice that have like
Mm-hmm.
little outfits and stuff that are doing things. I know I've seen one that's like performing Hamlet that's pretty famous that has a little skull in his hand. One that I found from the old sideshow days was called the Really Real Frog Band. So this was advertised in the sideshow with all of these, illustrations, of course, outside of frogs playing instruments.
Right.
And then when you get in there, it's a bunch of stuffed frogs with musical instruments. And apparently, when people complained about this, they were like, well, they're real, they're just not alive.
Perfect. You could really just be getting away with anything
Right?
before like 1982. Like
You just say whatever you want and just be like, and I guess it seems like it was kind of implied that it's like, well, they could play music when they were alive, but they're
yeah,
dead now, so like you're
obviously.
too late. And I'm like, I don't know about this.
Day late and a dollar short, folks. You missed them when they were alive. That's ridiculous. I love this. Whatever that part of history is, I love it. People were just bamboozling.
They were. It was just a full-on bamboozle all the time, and you could just say whatever you wanted, and other people would be like, "Well, I guess I have to believe you. Why would that nice Mr. Barnum lie to me?"
Why would he wouldn't do that? He doesn't even make any money off this.
Just here out of the goodness of his own heart, showing
Mhm.
me real frogs
Really
and
real
this nice
frog man.
mermaid. All this good mermaid information.
He's just trying to educate the children.
Oh my goodness. I do have my final gaff category. I am curious if you are familiar with this one. It is,
Okay.
I would say it's one of the ones that I find the most distressing. Um,
Distressing. Wow.
Midge, are you familiar with Asquatch?
Yes. And let me tell you why. I'll let you give the details, but
Yes.
as a very diet version of my familiarity with this, my husband is obsessed with all things Sasquatch for some reason, and so he brought this to me, uh, and I was distressed. Is exactly. Go ahead, tell us about Sasquatch.
So in taxidermy, obviously deer mounts are very popular.
Yeah.
People love having a big deer head in their house. But that means that you have half a deer that you generally don't need to use.
Unless you want
And
to get creative.
unless you want to get creative, because an ass squatch is the term used for a taxidermy gaff that is created out of a deer butt. It is generally like an upside down butt with
Yeah.
the tail hanging down as like a little like beardy thing. And they make the mouth out of the butthole.
Yeah, they do.
They
They
do.
do.
And then, I mean, beyond that, this is this is a category, so you can kind of go wild. People put all sorts of different eyeballs and creations on there. Sometimes they kind of look like monkeys. Sometimes they look like other sorts of things. But yeah, it is a deer butt with its butthole made into look like some kind of creature.
So this is where, so in the the first taxidermy episode, when you asked me my thoughts about taxidermy, and I was like, there is a place where I no longer agree with taxidermy. This is that place. Because, and like, is it funny? Sure. But also, like, there is a certain level of gaff taxidermy to me that just feels like really disrespectful to the
Yeah.
animal, you know? Like that, like the ass squatch to me, I'm like, that you've crossed a line.
Yeah,
For me.
I'm not into it. I respect the desire to use more parts of an animal that you are already doing some other form of taxidermy for. But it's yeah, I'm not into it. And the more that I like look at pictures of them, the more weirded out that I get. So I will not be posting any photos of these on the account. If you would like to
You
look
can give
them
it a
up,
goog.
you can give it a goog. There's a Vice article about it that kind of talks about the concept. But yeah, those are pretty weird. And I don't remember I I like came to it from like a very weird sideways thing where someone had said something about like deer butt taxidermy and I was like, "Wait, what?"
You said the holiday hoobie wuddy.
Yeah, and so I was like, "I better give this a goog." And then I was like, "Ooh, I shouldn't
No.
have given
Oh,
that a
I
goog."
wish I hadn't done that. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. You know what? No shade to you if you're an ass squatch person, but that's something I just can't get into. It's not for me.
Yeah, not for me. I'll stick with my other little weirdos. It's that's one of those things where it's like it's all weird. We've all got our own personal place where we're like, that's enough weird.
That's that's plenty. Thank you so
That's enough for
much.
me. Thank you, sir.
Now, sax squatch, I do that all day. Have you seen him?
Is that a Sasquatch playing a saxophone?
It is, yeah.
All right, I support that.
Yeah, he's on tour right now. I would highly recommend
Ooh.
checking out Sax Squatch instead of Ass Squatch.
You go. See, and at first, like, if someone just said the word Asquatch to me, I would think it would be a
Like Mothman.
Sasquatch with, yeah, with a sweet cake. And I would be like, hell yeah, you get it, Sasquatch.
I'm picturing like those like I don't know why very specifically those drawings of like the Babadook that happened around Pride where
Yes.
he was like twerking. Like I'm picturing that, but Sasquatch. And
Yes.
that I do subscribe to. That sounds great.
Yeah, we support that. We support that one.
We support here at Ghouls Night In, we support twerking Sasquatches.
Working Sasquatches. Yes. Do you, so obviously apart from Asquatch, which neither of us are super into, would you own gaff taxidermy? Are there any of these critters that you might wanna bring home?
You know, I do. I don't know why, but my whole life I've had a real humor point with animals wearing like little outfits. So I think
Yes.
like having a mouse or something wearing an outfit would give me a good chortle every now and again. I also did see I don't know if this was featured. I don't know where the artist was from, so I don't know if they were also at your Oddities Expo. But this one woman brought her pieces, and I don't know if it would necessarily be considered a gaff since it's not like a combination of elements. But she had made it was like a goat's head and neck that she had like turned into like a fairy house almost.
Oh.
And like throughout the neck of the piece there were just like different little cottages and stuff and like flowers coming out. It was very pretty. Like it looked like a decaying animal, but like in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
And like something like that, like a really artistic piece of taxidermy, I would probably own, um, just for the art of it. But
Hmm.
I also don't know. I grew up in, I mean, we talked about this. I grew up in a house with a lot of like deer heads and turkey and stuff, but it still is a little haunting to have them like looking back at you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know we've talked about like that I got like a sweet moth and stuff. I enjoy like looking at taxidermy, but I
Hmm.
feel like I'd be weirded out to have an animal taxidermy in my house. Like I would
Depends.
feel like it was looking at me.
Yeah, I think it would depend on where it was too. Like if I had
Hmm.
it like in a, like downstairs in like a kind of
A
hangout
public, yeah,
room.
social area.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want like it in my office or my bedroom.
Yeah, I definitely rented a cabin with some friends for a bachelorette party that was like full of taxidermy.
Oh my god.
And like some of the girls had to like sleep downstairs by like a full ass like bighorn sheep. And I was like, I'm not about this.
It reminds me of like Cabin in the Woods when they have to put that
Hmm.
like sheet over that wolf head. That's
Yeah.
what there's a lot where I would be like, I think like cute taxidermy, yes. Just real full blown animal head, no.
Yeah. It doesn't really go with my with our aesthetics, I would
No.
say. All
No.
right. Well, that was our adventure in gaff taxidermy. I would love to hear if you are an owner of gaff taxidermy or if
Yeah.
you have a fearsome critter that you are particularly fond of. Let us know. And we would love if you would let us know if you're enjoying the podcast by leaving us a review on your app of choice. It helps us find out what you like, and it also really does help other people find our show. And I believe we have a review that we're going to share right now.
We do. This one is from Sandy DeVito, and unfortunately, it won't show me the full title. It's cut off. It says "Good spooky fun with friends." Dot dot.
Dot, dot,
dot.
dot.
But the review says Penny and Midge obviously love all things spooky ooky, and maybe even more importantly, clearly like each other. Aww.
Aww.
A great chill vibe, spooky fun podcast. And then a jack-o'-lantern emoji.
Hey.
Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, we like each other all right.
I was gonna say I'm glad that we fooled everyone and they
Yeah,
don't know that all we do is just fight bitterly off the
we're
air.
the bamboozlers.
Yes, you have all been bamboozled. We are not friends, and we hate spooky things.
We should start like a PT Barnum campaign where we send like hate mail that was meant for each other, but we like send it to the wrong person. We'll like start our own internet beef.
Nice.
It'll be great.
I love it. All right. If you would like to see some cool taxidermy gaffs and other fun things, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at Ghouls Night in Pod. And if you would like to see me, you can find me across all platforms at Penny Snark.
And you can find me at Midge Munster.
And until next time,
Goodbye.
goodbye.